G'day guys, welcome back. Thought I'd run through a few of the planning and thoughts that have gone into this front grille radiator headlight kind of setup. So I've always liked these E&J headlights, but in my opinion they have to sit low and they have to sit close to the grille to look right. Now because these tyres are quite wide, these are 275 60 15s, which are really quite wide for the front. Now when we go full lock, we've left just enough room for the cycle guard brace. So this is why I've had to notch this 32 commercial grille. I've had to notch the rear and actually bring the headlight buckets in towards the radiator slightly. So this will be filled in as I get closer to completing it. So I'll put a bit of a dish in there behind it. This has quite a fair bit of steering travel. So combined with the wide tyres and the steering lock, that's how the headlight buckets have ended up where they are. As I mentioned previously, this is a GM LSA engine, 6.2 litre factory supercharged. So these come with a 1.9 litre supercharger with an Eaton rotor assembly. And these two ports here are like an intercooler brick inside of the hat. So as the air comes in, it gets compressed and heated. The intercooler brick cools it back down before it enters the intake. For this reason, I decided to go with this new old stock 32 commercial grille and mount it as far forward as it sits, because here's the other piece of the puzzle, which is another radiator core or heat exchanger. So this will sit behind the grille in between that gap where the radiator and the grille is now. This is how we've come up with the location of where it sits and how far forward it sits on the cross member there. So there's a bit of an angle to the grille as well. It's slightly kicked back to match the fuel tank height. You can see at the bottom here I've lifted the radiator slightly. As well as the heat exchanger, the tank reservoir for the supercharger is going to be a moon tank, which will sit basically on top of this spreader bar here. So this gives us a bit better height and fills the gap up in the radiator a lot better at the top here. You can see here, once the thermo's fitted, there'll still be a fair gap in between the engine and the radiator. This is sort of the way I designed it for possibly a different power adder combination at a later date. We'll see how we get on. next part of this will be to create a skeletal frame which will fit down in between here, run up, and also brace across the front. So this will hold the radiator, the grille, the heat exchanger all tight as one, so nothing's moving around unnecessarily. I've got some chromoly medium wall thin pipe, so this is 1/2 inch and 3/8. I've had a practice there with a quick 90-degree bend already, so this should come out quite nice and kind of give it that race car look still. A quick run through on the intake here. So this is basically how I want it and where it's going to sit finally. So it's in the center line of the headlight this way. There's a small 10mm packer there. The air filter will sit level, but as you can see, it comes up from the engine a fair way. So there's a few different angles to contend with. I wanted to keep it kind of smooth and flowing this way. So I could have made the radius slightly tighter if I used donuts, but there'd be weld seams along here, which I kind of didn't want. And as you can see, I kind of fucked it up. So there's now a 15mm to about a 12mm pie cut here. So on the bench over there is a new bend, and that way I'll only have one weld seam on the whole intake pipe. I decided to use a boost style intake clamp instead of having a bit of silicone and a couple of hose clamps. I think these look really nice. They're kind of expensive, but they're a good fit and finish. This one's toolless. I'll see if I can pop it open with one hand. So they come together pretty good. They got 2 O-rings and they have a bit of flex on the inside. So this should give us enough movement that we require between the engine and where the actual intake pipe will be mounted, which will be off a rail that will come down here and kind of extend the front of the roll cage. Bit easier to kind of see on the bench here. So it goes at a few different angles, and I've tried to keep it as smooth as flowing as I could. So basically we will remake this side of it out of this mandrel bent 180. So we'll, a bit hard to see on the camera there, cut a whole new piece from here to here, and that way we'll only have one weld seam and it'll come together quite nice. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.